recorded, and we will be posting it to the kcsmartsewer.us website, and so that any of Dale's neighbors will be able to access it in the future. This is the Outfall 054 public meeting. I would ask everybody to stay on mute unless you're speaking throughout the whole presentation. Additionally, if you have any questions as we go, please put them in the chat or save them till after the end of the presentation. There will be plenty of time for discussion. And I think that's it. So I will turn it over to Matt Bond. And I think as you become the speaker, please introduce yourself and tell us who you are. But Matt, turning it to you.
Will do. If you go to the next slide. Good afternoon. My name is Matt Bond. I'm the Deputy Director for KC Water. So responsible for engineering and compliance with KC Water. Basically, my role here tonight is just to help provide information outside of the Smart Sewer program for KC Water, and then also if there's anything that anyone has questions about, beyond this project, we'd be happy to answer those again at the end of the presentation or follow up with additional information. We also do have our director Terry Leeds on today as well, in case I need to phone a friend and really get some deeper information in there. Srini Valvanini, our Smart Sewer officer, can't be with us tonight. Then Priya Iyengar, the KC Water Project Manager, and Jesse Veach will follow me with the presentation. So we'll go to the next slide. I'll just get an overview of the utilities that Kansas City Water is responsible for. And we have, and I'm going from memory here, but we have drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater utilities. And this slide shows the types of assets we have in each of those systems. So on the drinking water side, 1 water treatment plant, pump stations, almost 3,000 miles of water mains. On the wastewater side, we have 6 wastewater treatment plants. Those are at the bottom of the hills, the bottom of the watersheds, and we have 3 large plants and 3 smaller plants, 43 pump stations, 2,800 miles of sewer mains. And then on the stormwater side, again, we are responsible for stormwater. A lot of that's inherited stormwater infrastructure built with streets and in the neighborhoods. Next slide. So we're here to talk today about our sewer system and a project in our sewer system. And we have 2 types of sewer systems. We have our combined sewer system. It's about 60 square miles from downtown to about 85th Street. And then further south and east, and then up in the Northland, we have a separate sewer system. So I'll talk a little bit about what that means here next. Essentially, the combined sewer system is where the wastewater and stormwater are in the same pipes. It all works very, very well when it's not raining, when there's no rainwater getting into the system. But as it rains, the stormwater enters in and combines with the stormwater, and then the more dilute, larger flows then do overflow to our streams and rivers, and the remainder of it does go to the wastewater treatment plant. The next slide shows the separate sewer system, which obviously is a better way to handle it, to where we have our storm sewer separate from the wastewater. And the combined sewer system is a legacy system that we were provided with. We are under a federal consent decree to do what we can to minimize those dilute, storm and wastewater overflows that happen during wet weather. And this is one of the projects that we're working on to minimize those over time. So next slide. So we do have several challenges with that combined sewer system. Of course, it does overflow during wet weather. We have an aging wastewater infrastructure. Many parts of the system are over 100 years old. There are sewer backups in some areas because we don't have enough capacity in the sewer systems. This can lead to water quality that is less than ideal in our streams, lakes, and rivers. So that is something that we monitor, and we're always trying to make the water quality better where we can with our projects and our programs. And then, as you all know, we've had a significant increase in our sewer rates over the last 10 years because of the consent decree and because of the fact that we really weren't paying enough in the past years, and we're playing catch up to take care of a lot of this sewer infrastructure, and we're making some really good headway. So there are several types of combined sewer improvements that we're working on, and we've branded that our Smart Sewer program. Smart because we're trying to make smart investments, and we're also using technology wherever we can to make sure that we really do use technology to improve things, so we don't have to put as much expensive infrastructure in the ground. So we like to use green infrastructure. We'll talk about kind of what green infrastructure does later, but essentially you're using nature to help both store and clean up the stormwater before it goes into the waterways. Sewer separation, that's the subject of this project, where we do selective separation of the stormwater and the wastewater. We look at sewer capacity improvements, so we need to both look at that at the last bullet, perhaps pump station improvements, and then also treatment plant expansion to take care of more flows getting down to the plants. In our separate sewer system, we call it inflow and infiltration reduction. So when excess stormwater gets into the system by flowing in through defects in the sewer system, if we fix those defects, we can reduce the amount of infiltration and inflow and problems with in the separate sewer system. And then in some cases, we may just provide additional wet weather treatment capacity, either in standalone treatment systems or at the wastewater plants. So we just recently achieved a really big win for the residents of Kansas City with a modified consent decree. And we have a reduced program cost of that consent decree of $2.3 billion before that commitment was over $4 billion. So, but still a very significant investment, and we want to make sure that we do it right and do it wisely. And a part of that is to make sure that we get public input on this type of project. So is that it for me? Okay, so this just talks about the types of projects. So in the bullet points before, we talked about the various types of projects. We've been at this for about 10 years with this overflow control program and smart sewer program. So the vertical dashed line is where we are at 2021, 2022 era. And you can see that we're investing in the future years, a big bar there for green infrastructure. And then we're still doing all of those types of projects. And then we do have additional high rate treatment and additional new types of projects that will come in towards the latter part of that commitment through 2035. Next slide. All right, now let's get to what you all came to hear about, and that's the sewer separation project, Outfall 54. So Priya, take it away.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, everyone. Yes, we do, as Matt alluded to, we work with Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is as you would hear later on in the presentation, to make sure that we build cost-effective projects in your neighborhood that will help us improve the quality of water. And that is exactly what this project is geared up to do. To improve the quality of water in this part of town, we plan to separate the sewers by first fixing the pipe where it's broken, building a new storm sewer system, and incorporating stormwater best management practices, or also called as green infrastructure, in order to clean it before we release it back to the environment. We've done some homework in terms of data collection and engaging with stakeholders to plan for these improvements. And this is our first public meeting intended to reach out to you and gather more information to help fill in data gaps, either at this meeting or as a follow-up. This is a consent decree project with hard deadlines. Can you move on to the next slide, Drew? Thank you. What you're seeing in the map there is the project that we are talking about. That purple line delineates the project boundary. As I said, this is a consent decree project with hard deadlines, and our goal is to complete design work by the end of this year and complete construction by before the end of 2023. Next, please. Infrastructure improvements that we are planning for will help first reduce the amount of wastewater sent to our wastewater treatment plant, ultimately reducing the cost of operation and maintenance. Second, by fixing broken pipes, we extend the service life of our existing system. We could probably extend that to 50 years more. Third is by collecting stormwater in a separate pipe, like Matt talked about earlier. We improve collection system for those smaller and more frequent rainfall events. Lastly, integrating green infrastructure, which is determined by the lay of land and is designed based on availability of land and the amount of stormwater that can be sent to it. All these improvement layers will help us improve the quality of water. Next. In past projects, I've heard people say, oh, that's when we talk about green infrastructure, that's a weed patch. At KC Water, we strive to bring creative designs that add interest and variety to our green infrastructure, and I'll share some examples here. In this photo, you can go back to the rendering, thank you. In this graphic to the left, they're both illustrating rainfall events. To the left, it is showing how runoff during a rain event can make its way to our sewer system. The graphic to the right has green infrastructure where we're trying to mimic nature, is helping pull some of that runoff before it enters our storm sewer system. That's basically what green infrastructure attempts to do, mimicking nature and helping our sewer system. Next. The photo to your left is a green infrastructure that we built in Arletta Park, and this is located on East 77th Street and Prospect Avenue. We tried to work with the existing grades to build this green infrastructure and added elements such as large boulders to deter traffic and limestone retaining walls that you're noticing in the photo that blended with the characteristics of the neighborhood. These also add an aesthetic element to our project while providing a functional benefit. Photo to the right is a smaller bioretention facility located on East 81st and Lydia Avenue. This takes half of the flow overland and the other half from underground pipe systems. The plants that you're noticing in the middle mostly are deep-rooted native plants that help with infiltration, just soaking up that water into the ground. Next. Here, this is the last photo I have as an example. This is a larger wet detention pond that is located on East 81st Street and Troost Avenue. It collects a major portion of a commercial corridor. Portion of the facility stays wet throughout the year, and whenever it rains, the level of water varies within the facility. We are happy to take you on a tour if that is of interest to you, but these are just some of the examples. One other example that is not shown in the slide deck is permeable pavement application. We have a variety of those installed within our KC Water campus. That is another example of green infrastructure that helps with the infiltration process. But before we get into this, we want to know what your sewer system looks like in your neighborhood. So I'm gonna ask Jesse to talk through the design update.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessie Beach. I am with CDM Smith, and we're the design professional for this project. So I'm going to give a quick update on where we are now. We just finished up the preliminary design for this project a couple weeks ago, and then just kind of let you know what you can expect as we move through the design phase. So the first thing that we did as part of this project was evaluate the existing combined sewer system. So we looked at TV footage. So the city sent TV camera down all of the pipes and that you can see here. They're the green and red lines. It's a little bit small depending on the size of your screen, but that's the green and red lines are the existing combined sewer system. So what we did is we evaluated all of these pipes. We were looking for major defects within the system with the goal of trying to identify what the either the rehabilitation or replacement needs of the system, of the existing system is. And you can see the two photos on top of the map. Those are two photos of the pipe within this system in your neighborhood. So what we found is that this system is actually close to 100 years old in most of the neighborhood. And it's going to require rehab and replacement for almost the entire system here in this watershed, with the goal of extending the useful life of the system. And it's going to be used, it's going to stay in place, and it's going to serve as just the primary, the collection system for the sanitary flows. And as we're going to be separating those storm flows out. So the second major task was to evaluate the stormwater drainage requirements within the watershed and develop a preliminary design of the new separate stormwater system. So the storm lines are the new proposed storm lines are the blue lines on this map. Again, they're kind of small, but we identified the size and the placement of the new stormwater system. Next slide, please. The next major task as part of the preliminary design was to evaluate opportunities and locations for green infrastructure as part of this project. And the map that you see here, you see some arrows that's showing kind of the direction of flow of the stormwater within the neighborhood. So we identified 3 concept locations for green infrastructure, and those are there's kind of 3 black boxes shown here, and they're labeled as concept 1, 2, and 3. And these represent locations that are feasible for green infrastructure in the neighborhood. And typically they're located in low spots where water naturally drains to. And they maximize the area that can be treated and the water quality benefits that can go be provided through green infrastructure. And so these 3 locations would represent water quality treatment for this entire watershed before the stormwater is then discharged back into the receiving stream. So again, these are ideas and concept locations that make sense now. And so what we're hoping for is for you to give us feedback on these locations. Next slide, please. And so, as I mentioned, we just finished up with the preliminary design, and those were kind of the 3 main things that we completed during the design phase. And we're now moving into the final design, which we'll be finishing up at the end of this year. But wanted to let you know a few things that you can expect during the design phase. One major thing would be stakeholder engagement. So we plan to reach out to the community and the stakeholders that would be affected by things that we're proposing and some of the maps that you saw on the previous slides. We will be doing additional field investigations and site visits. So you might see us out walking around with clipboards and drawings, marking up, things that we see on site. There's going to be some geotechnical investigations going on where we're trying to understand the geotechnical properties in the area. So we want to know if there's a lot of rock. We want to know if we put green infrastructure in, is the water going to seep into the ground and be treated like we hope it would. The other thing that you will see is some utility investigations. So, and you might be seeing utilities actually relocating their utilities before we go in and build our project. And with that, I think we're going to turn it over to discussion.
Hi, everyone. My name is Travis Pendleton. I'm part of the consultant team as well. I work for Vireo. We are planning design, landscape architecture, and do a lot of green infrastructure projects. I know that we've shared a lot of information with you all today, from really big picture, like what happens with water services in terms of, wastewater and how that's managed, to green infrastructure, this particular project, and Jesse's even showed you what the pipes look like inside. We'd really like to know from you all what questions or concerns you have about the project, or even more broadly for wastewater and green infrastructure through water services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the question in the chat. And I will, again, it's just broadly what questions or comments, concerns do you have? You can use the chat if you would like to put your responses there. If you haven't seen the chat button or box before, it's in the top of your screen. There's a little people icon that shows you who participants are, and then there's a little thought bubble, and that's the button for chat. So you can respond in the chat. Even better though, you could just unmute yourself and let us know what you're thinking. And we have a hand up. And the hand just went down. But the person with the hand up, can you go ahead and share your thoughts? Your name's not in there, so I can't really. Oh, Nancy. Nancy, do you want to share?
Yes. My name is Nancy Simons, and I'm the Vice President of Blue Valley Neighborhood Association. And I was wondering if there's any plans to do any expansions in this area, because we have a lot of old pipes and a lot of breakage. So, and also one other question I have, those, the water, what streets are those on for the green infrastructure, like plants and stuff that you were showing? It's so small, I can't see it.
Yeah, Drew, do you want to flip back to those slides that show the concept locations?
Yep, we're getting a little frozen here. 1 second.
As far as the expansion, I guess I would expect that by taking the stormwater out and separating that there will be plenty of capacity within the existing sanitary sewer system. That's correct, Jesse, right?
Yes, that's correct. There'll be plenty of capacity. And the other comment I think that you had was that the pipe is very old and you've experienced breaking. So when I mentioned that we were evaluating the existing system, and the intent of that is to identify where we might need to either replace that old breaking pipe or where we might need to rehab it, which we would go in and line it with a cementitious liner so that it's in like new conditions when we leave the neighborhood after this project.
And the green infrastructure, like the native flowers, what streets are those on? I can't see because they're so small.
So there's 3 different locations. I'm trying. Can you go up to about 5 slides previous, Andrew or Drew?
Yeah.
It's
Go ahead and zoom in on that image to the green infrastructure areas. Larger image.
Oh gosh.
Drew, you might also consider looking at it in presentation view and see if that improves any.
I am trying. Sorry, guys.
Drew, try scrolling, control scroll.
That might help.
There we go.
Now I'm on the wrong slide. But it would be down here, right?
No, you're too far.
While Drew is working through the slides, the 3 locations that we're thinking of, one is southeast corner of 16th Terrace and White Avenue. Correct, Jesse?
Yes.
The other one is located within the Police Athletic Academy on 17th and White, close to, near that intersection. So these are the concepts that we are thinking of based on the lay of the land. They're all located within private property, which is the stakeholder engagement process that we were talking about early on, that we have started to attempt to engage with the stakeholders, and we're going to continue to get their input as we progress through design. So those black polygons that you're noticing on the map are the locations that we're currently considering for green infrastructure.
Do you have the plan that you were showing Miss Tam, the Buddhist lady, about their parking lot? She showed it to me, and I don't see it here in your presentation that you were planning there on. I think, Nancy, where we're planning it was there in the parking lot of the Buddhist temple there.
Yeah.
Part of White Street there.
Right. We didn't include it in this presentation, but we can definitely, the hope was that we can follow up with you all and with the stakeholders to show some of those ideas and get your input on those. But yeah, that is labeled as concept 1 is the one you're referring to, Dale, and it is the existing parking lot for the temple.
Okay, and just exactly what were you going to do there?
So we're showing, so you'll see the rectangle on the left there, that was intended to be, it was called a bioretention basin. And we had some pictures of what that might look like from the previous slides. And then the rectangle right next to it is a porous pavement parking lot. So it would be a parking lot that looks like pavers, but rainwater would actually infiltrate through those pavers into a storage system that cleans the stormwater and then and filters it and then discharges it back towards the storm drain system and then to the stream. So it's so both those things clean the water and then send it back to the storm sewer.
Okay, so you're going to create a parking lot for the temple then?
Potentially, yes. That's one of the concepts we've got. And so we are in very preliminary stages of that and hoping to get some input from the public on those ideas.
Okay, well, now I'm just trying to, because she explained it to me and I was sitting there wondering, I wanted to make sure she understood and that I understand what she explained to me.
Mm-hmm.
So there on White, basically what you're going to do in White, you're going to make a green space, and what are you planting there? Right there, right there. Basically, it's where White Street would go,
Mm-hmm.
except right now it's just gravel and.
Right. In general, they would be native plantings that would have like very deep root systems that infiltrate water into the ground, and they promote that infiltration into the ground. But we definitely would work with the public to identify plants that make sense for the neighborhood.
Okay. And how are we planning on maintaining this?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we maintain the green infrastructure in perpetuity. It won't work for its stormwater and water quality benefit unless we maintain it. So we will have maintenance crews that will keep it in as good a condition as possible, replace plantings as needed over time, because it has to keep working or we don't meet our overall performance goals.
Well, what we worry about in our neighborhood is a lot of times we have what we have over with the Parks Department on topping is they've naturalized an area and basically they're just letting it grow and letting the trash accumulate. And that's something that we're very, very much worried about anytime we start talking about any of this people do green infrastructure, because I'm a gardener and I know gardens take a lot of work to tend if you make them right.
Are there any other questions or concerns that you have about the project before I ask you another question? Again, unmute yourself. You can raise your hand if you want.
And Jesse, before I get dumped off the system, are you far enough along with your sewer rehabilitation to know how much of it might be trenchless lining and how much might be replacement?
Yes, actually, if you go to the slide right before this, Drew. It's difficult to see, but the red lines are lines that we anticipate replacing, and the green would be trenchless rehab solutions.
So it looks like most of the red lines are either in former right-of-way or in streets for the most part.
Yes, they would be replaced in the same location.
Okay. So then most of the other lines should be done with cast in place pipe or something like that, a lot less disruptive.
Correct. CIPP lining. So the way that we have an entrance at a structure, and then we would basically line the pipe from the surface. So a lot less disruption.
So I'm going to put this other question in the chat, and it has to do with what wastewater or stormwater improvements do you hope to see with this project? And I hear really good maintenance as being one of those things that you would like to see based on experience elsewhere in your neighborhood. What are the other improvements that you would like to see, if any? Any ideas? Dale, did you have any additional thoughts besides the maintenance?
Okay. Yes, I've actually got quite a few questions.
Okay.
When we talk about water problems in that area, basically and possible green spots and places we can do. Land Bank owns 2 lots there. They're basically in the middle of 16th Street, and they drop down, and they're east of the east of White there, where the alley goes back up there off 16th Terrace. We have drainage issues up in that area. And I know you've got right there in the alley is where your manhole is for your sewer. I know that because I weeded it up there and maintained that lot. Is there any way we can address those drainage issues? Is there any way we could turn that into a nice green space for the neighborhood?
Let's see, Drew, can you switch to that parcel map?
Yep.
Helpful, and maybe you can point out specifically which lots you're looking at. Yeah.
Well, the lots, if you can pull a parcel map that'll give you them is 6013 East 16th. But it's basically you go from McCoy Park there on 16th Street, those 2 big lots right in the middle of the block. Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay. And that's where you've got the steep terrain.
The back of those lots down there where the right-of-way runs down toward 16th Terrace.
So it's on the south side of 16th Street, correct?
There you go. Now you're right there, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We got, I'm not for sure I'm assuming it's a spring, but there used to be a house there and water would run out under the foundation. Hopefully it's not your water, but there's a lot of wet water problems in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And any way we can get that fixed or get that within this project, or can we try to figure out a way to bring some other resources in to so that we do it all at once?
And you said those are both land bank properties now?
They're both land bank properties, yeah. And they're causing a little problem for those three lots there on 16th Terrace. I think they get back in there in wet weather when it's wet, and there's they have pretty soppy backyards because we don't have any. The natural drainage should go into that ditch that goes down just east of the Buddhist parking lot there.
Those
There's
two,
no way to naturally drain it.
right, those two properties, just for context, I mean, they're very steep from the north side to the south side. So it would be difficult to, build much in there. We can.
Actually, what it is, it's very steep in the first third of the property, and in the back there's a nice open area.
Okay.
Trees and stuff. Because I'm back in there, I go back in there and weed eat it and maintain it.
And you say the major concern there is for those property owners to the south where their backyards back up to that.
I really think that's my major concern right now, is if we can get that, because we have a lot of drainage problems there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth us going and taking a closer look at that and see if there's anything that can be incorporated, on the public project.
Because it would be nice we could I don't think they'll ever sell those lots to anybody, because like you say, it's office, basically you go 10 foot off the edge of the pavement of 16th Street and it drops down 15 feet. and then it gives you a little break, and then it drops down another 15 or 20 feet. So it's an interesting lot, but it would be nice. Our long-term goal there, if we can get it done, I don't know if we ever will, is to make that a nice little bit of green space for the neighborhood. But it's a challenge.
What other improvements did you have on your list, Dale? You said you had a long list.
Oh, that was mostly it. So when in that area there, because it's kind of a small area over there, and I was kind of concerned, wondering about what you were showing Miss Tam, the Buddhist lady, about what you were going to do in her parking lot and stuff.
I think it would be. I'm hopeful we can schedule a meeting with you to sit down one-on-one too, and to look at those concepts. I think that would be a good idea to do in the near future.
Okay, that sounds good.
Sounds like you have, a lot invested in the neighborhood, so it'd be good to get your specific feedback on some of our ideas.
Hey, Nancy, is the lady is she still your secretary there that lives in that neighborhood?
Miss Marsh?
No. What is her name? I think she was your secretary or treasurer there for a while.
Oh, Sandra Perkins.
Yes. She needs to get involved in this.
Yeah.
She's she has we need to get her in the middle of this.
Yeah.
Where
She
did
has
you-
a lot of trouble with that water and all that there. So
Is she a property owner in that area?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Sandra Perkins?
she's one of the property owners that I said probably is having problems with
Mhm.
with our drainage there.
Mhm.
So one of those properties to the south of those land bank properties.
Yeah, yes, I think it's probably 60-10 or something like right there, that right where your arrow is, right there.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
What's your what? Maybe I missed it because I've been zooming all day. But what's the time frame you expect on this project?
So final design will be wrapping up at the end of the year, so in December, with construction starting early 2022. Nancy, would you be a good person if we can't reach Sandra? Could we reach out you to help us get in contact with her?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, one other question: the native garden that's going to be, or you're thinking about putting down by the Police Athletic League, is that going to be in the right of way, or is it going to be? I know some of the native projects are like right beside the street, so I was just interested in that.
The one by the school.
By the Police Athletic League, you said, I think.
Yeah, that would be, it's actually on Parks property, and it would be off the street, so it'd be set back far enough that it wouldn't be right on the street.
Okay.
Where do they put it? Because that's all parking lot there.
It's so if you're looking at this map, maybe we should flip again back to the concept map, and you can kind of see it a little bit better where we're thinking of putting it. Gotta love virtual meetings.
There you go.
Right, so you can see a kind of a blob looking shape, and it's labeled concept 3. That's the location we're thinking of right now.
Okay, that's over there in the field between Powell and the
Trailwoods.
Trailwoods.
Yes.
Okay, that'd be a good area. Yeah.
Great spot. Yeah.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Nancy, you had your hand up before, but you had your question answered,
No,
correct?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
For my
That's
name.
okay. That's okay. So we really want to be sure that we reach everyone in a way that's going to work for them. And so you've heard that we're having some conversations with different stakeholders based on, their relationship to some of the concepts. We sent mailers to you all. Obviously, this meeting is online.
Mhm.
What are the best ways to keep you all informed and your neighbors informed about this project? And I'm putting that same question in the chat. You can reply there. Just go ahead and use your voice. Nancy.
Well, I have an email address, I think, and the neighbors, we do the neighbors next door, Blue Valley. That reaches a lot of people. Either one would be fine.
Nancy, this is Terry Lees. Do you have a meeting coming up with your group? That some of these folks that live here might be able to, if we could tag along to that meeting, maybe?
Okay. Yeah, we plan on having an event at Blue Valley Park, but in May.
Yeah, I think I had heard maybe mid-May or late May. Don't you have your meetings like the third Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's like the 20th, maybe. A lot of people want an open air area, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I chatted with you maybe a few weeks ago about that, and you mentioned that and just concern about how the pandemic was going or not going, and
Yes.
thinking about an open air meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Mhm.
We haven't had a meeting since last March. Well, we had one in the park. The best way to get information probably is to get it in a flyer form where I can pass it out over there in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Because I know almost everybody over there and I talk to them quite a bit. And we probably are going to try to either May or June do a meeting up in McCoy Park. So I can let you all know when that is. I'll just put you on my email list for that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, get me some kind of information, a nice little, if you can print up a nice little handout. And because I was over there today and I could have handed out to people up there on up toward Topping, because I talked to several, I talk to all those people when I work over there. So that would be a good idea if you can do that to me.
Okay.
And if you could send me one also, I'd appreciate it. A lot of people here, they don't have internet or they don't have a computer. So that's a great idea, Dale.
Maybe we can make something that's a bit of a follow-up to this meeting. Just let them know where things are and what we talked about.
Absolutely. That's really good feedback. Thank you.
So we're hearing flyers, email, next door. Is there any other way that comes to your mind?
My way of communicating with my neighbors is either I'm talking to them in person, I'm handing out flyers, and I've got about a 50-person email list.
Gotcha.
And we basically, nothing else really works because it's too small an area.
Gotcha.
And then I heard next door as well. So let's do try to connect to that next door group as well for our next meeting. When do you think our next design review input meeting would be, Jesse or Priya?
I can take that, Jesse. Once we go through a stakeholder engagement process, we can get to the next stage of the design, Matt. And I think at that point, we'll be, just before we get to the 90%, we'll be ready to have a follow-up meeting with the public.
So that's probably fall,
Yes.
September, October. Okay.
Yeah, for a formal, public meeting. But I mean, I think it's going to be important for us to engage in other ways before that. So I like the ideas that Dale and Nancy have there.
I agree.
Very good. Anything else?
Hi, I'm Megan Duane. I help with communications on the Smart 2 program, and I have a quick question. So Dale and Nancy, at times we put up like little yard signs and maybe high traffic areas that could have some information about the project. That's kind of a way we've been able to reach people more on the ground, right? And not over email or digitally. Do you think that would be useful in this neighborhood, just to get people knowing that this is coming and where they can find more information?
Sometimes you put them in the parks. You can do that as well.
Yep. It wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
I think since you're centered down there by the Buddhist temple, and I think people drive up and down 16th Terrace all the time. I think you put anything on each corner of those blocks like that, with some information, you would at least get the word out that something was happening. Okay. And give a number where somebody can call you and talk to you. Because we aren't talking, it's not a very big area.
Right.
It's about 35 acres. That's the project area we're talking about.
But the neighborhood itself isn't that big. And so that one-on-one communication, engagement, and science, people are bound to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Super great ideas. Anything else? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. We have 8 minutes to go, and so we can close perhaps.
Matt, that sounds good to me. Matt, Terry?
Well, fine by me. We really appreciate you all devoting time on this. Any way you can help us get connected to others, it'll make for a more successful project. So thanks for your input and ideas, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, thank you. One thought I had that I know worked for us over in Arletta Park, Priya, was a Saturday morning get together at the park, and it looks like McCoy Park is very close. And I'm wondering, Dale, do you think, or Nancy, that the community would come out for a gathering on a Saturday morning? Is that the kind of thing that people would be comfortable with doing, whether it be out for coffee and donuts or maybe over a lunch for hot dogs or something like that? Would they be interested in that? Would the community engage in that kind of activity?
If we promote it, we probably can. Of course, it's, we are a working class neighborhood, and that means people get up and go to work quite a bit. So that was our problem with Saturday meetings, was about half the people were out working anyway. So we tried it, but it might very well work, and you get some people there. And like I say, give me a simple flyer that I can print up easily without a lot of color, because I don't want to spend a lot of money on ink. Print up a few flyers and pass them out.
Well, and we can also print them and just deliver them to you. So then all you have to do is pass them out.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I believe one other good connection. Actually, we have a I don't know what the other word for it is, but we have a hot house at Trail Woods where plants and stuff are growing there. Mm-hmm. The connection there is Melanie Scott. She is a link site coordinator, and I think she'd be a good connection for this project because of the fact there's probably close to 400 students there, and they're in this area.
And she's at the school? Melanie is? Okay.
What you mentioned, it's a link site? What?
It's after school service. It's after school service site.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, the school is also one other way to get out into the neighborhood, because we have a lot of people with children in that area. I think all of that area over in that area is served by Trail Woods.
Yes, we definitely want to get input from the school too about that the concept location that we're showing there on the corner. So that's a great connection. Is Melanie a teacher?
No, she's a link coordinator. It's an after school program, but actually the principal is Leah Starr. And I think the phone number is 418-3360.
Now we've reached out to the school, had a bit of trouble getting a hold of them, but we have reached out to both the principal and the vice principal. Maybe we can see if we can loop in Melanie.
Yes.
As part of that, maybe get a better response that way.
That's a great idea.
Thank you so much, you guys. Final remarks, Matt and Terry. We're getting close to end of our meeting time.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Just inside, folks, you might talk with Mary with our stormwater education program there.
Yes, I will follow up with Mary. Thank you, Terry. Drew, back to you.
All right. Well, thank you all for participating and providing your comments. I hope you are a little more familiar with what we've been thinking about for this project, and you know where the resources are in case you have more questions. But with that, I think that's it for tonight, and the team will be following up with some additional materials and information. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks.